Hi, everyone. This is Dan, and this is Dana. I hope. And welcome to our second Facebook Live. This one we're going to call Let's Roll With It, which is kind of the way we roll as a couple as well, right? So we had a great time on our last one. We had a lot of great questions and a great community that we got together with. And we're really excited to be doing this again. And we've got to have our cocktail. So
before we,
we're going to have a cocktail.
Okay.
So the cocktail we're going to have is something called the D&D Delight. And the first time we had this was about, I better not screw this up,
13 years ago.
13 years ago. So this was a drink that we came up with that was going to be used for our wedding. And so what it is, it's Grey Goose pear, it's Canton, squeeze some nice lime, and a little bit of simple syrup. But you cannot have the simple syrup, right? So I kind of put in some other stuff here so we can reduce the amount of sugar in that.
Is it more vodka?
It's more vodka.
Okay.
Okay. So let's have a toast there. And here we go. Cheers, honey.
Cheers.
To 13 years.
13 years and happy Valentine's Day.
Is that why you're wearing the red?
I heard you could win a Cupid box.
Yep. Yes, the Cupid box for Valentine's Day, I guess you get it until next week. So one of the questions that we get all the time is your seafood sushi or sashimi grade? And that leads into a big discussion that we always, are answering multiple times. So one of the things that we came up with is, why don't we just talk about that? Because there's a lot going on. Do you want to let Vito out? Because he's going to,
yes.
Yeah, we're going to let Vito out. You might hear Vito in the background.
Who let the dog?
So I guess one of the questions that we had was, is it sushi grade or sashimi grade? Well, that leads into a big discussion because there's really no grade for seafood like that. It's not like the beef, it's USDA choice, it's USDA prime. There's no such thing as a sushi or sashimi grade. And actually, let's start like right at the beginning. And in the beginning, I guess it starts with the word sushi, which is a dish that is made with rice. So if you were to look at this, it's rice. Sushi rice is made with vinegar. That's how it sticks together. That's one of the processes that they have there. So we have that. And then we have what is called, sashimi. So, but let's start with the sushi. So we love sushi, right? Even Jack likes sushi, which is kind of surprising.
Even Vito loves sushi.
Yeah, but he says California rolls all the time versus having the real stuff. So sushi is two things, really, that we get used to. And this is the biggie, right? The maki rolls. And it's like, okay, what's inside there? What goes around in there? This looks really good. This came from City Sushi down here in Raleigh. We certainly did not make that in this house. This is what we order in all the time. The second thing that you get out of sushi is you get nigiri rolls, right? And basically what you get when it's nigiri is a Japanese word for two fingers. So they take two fingers of the rice and then they put the seafood on top of it. But what seafood do they put on top of it? It's a pretty nice plate there, huh? This we're going to eat later?
Yep.
All right. You hungry? Would you like to have one now?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I get to eat it.
Yeah.
Ooh, thank
There
you.
you go. So, sushi, maki rolls, and nigiri. Now, sushi is where we have the biggest problems. If you go and you look at the LA Times a few years ago, and I know I've got some friends in California that are on right now, the LA Times went out there and found out that 50% of the sushi restaurants in Los Angeles were mislabeling seafood. And you can understand why when you look into, a maki roll is that, can you really tell what exactly is in there? So these are the problems that we began to see with a lot of the sushi. And I think we have, I'm very fussy when it comes to seafood, so I'm really particular about, where I get that. Sashimi, what does that mean? Actually, it's two words. It's the sash, which means pierced or struck. Kind of like that. And the second word is mi, right? Sashimi. That's body or meat. So sashimi is usually referred to in our business as the best seafood that you can eat raw. It's the best of the best. So every New Year's Eve, do you know about this? In Tokyo, they have an auction, right? Every New Year's Eve on a giant bluefin tuna. And that is like bringing in the new year. It's good luck. They have these incredible auctions. What do you think the price of that fish, one tuna, went for this New Year's Eve? It's the whole thing. It's a big fish, 500-600 pounds.
$1 million.
$1 million. Well, that didn't happen. Okay. It actually went for $200,000 this year. No.
Okay.
But wait a minute. COVID, right? Not a lot of people are going out to the restaurants to eat.
Yeah.
Last year,
It was $1 million?
$1.8 million.
Okay.
So sashimi and getting
Not
the right
bad.
type, the highest quality, that's what we refer to when you talk about sashimi or sashimi grade. But there is no real grading of seafood like this. I wish there were, but there's not a lot of it. So when we look at sashimi, this is sashimi. I can't wait to eat this later. So sashimi is eaten very plain, very, thin sliced, and you want to taste the actual fish itself, the fats, the oils. So when you look at scallops or salmon, the tuna obviously is probably the best that you're going to be eating here. Now, this is what we call sashimi. This nigiri is basically, here it is. This is the sashimi that goes on top of the two fingers. So this is the only time that you'll see sashimi, and it'll be called nigiri, because sashimi is usually referred to only as being the very, very simple. And I'm actually going to have a piece of this right now.
Okay, so we've got some comments coming in. We're starting to get some questions. My good friend Kelly wants to know the mocktail version for her teens of the D&D Delight. So Kelly, we'll get that to you.
There is one?
Yeah, so.
Well, wait a minute. So first of all, we remember that we were having a dry January for Dana, not for me.
Yeah.
Well, it turned out to be a damp January.
We came up, yeah.
And we have to credit our neighbor here in the building, Sandy. She came up, I'm not having a dry January, I'm having
A damp one, yep.
Hey, you got a question?
So, our good friend Sue from Long Island, can all of that be eaten raw?
Yes, is the simple question. But the thing is, do you know seafood? There's a lead in. There's a plug. And do you know seafood? That's what we want to talk about, right? Is that in the United States, and Sue, that's a really good question. Because of the issues of eating raw seafood, the Food and Drug Administration has what they call a recommendation, right? And so it's not a law, it's a recommendation that they suggest something that we got to make sure that this product is safe to eat. So the recommendation is that the product is frozen at -4 degrees for 7 days by restaurants, and then to sell it as raw. That way, the 7 days at -4 will kill all the parasites that could perhaps be within the seafood. Or it has to be 15 hours at -31 degrees. So unless you're very fortunate to grow up on the water like Paul and I did, right? And I know Paul loves eating raw scallops as I do. We'll eat a lot of raw seafood, but we're very fortunate that we grew up on Buzzard's Bay. I mean, I remember, as a kid learning, eating scallops, eating periwinkles, eating mussels, but it came out of the water right then and there. So unless you know exactly where your seafood came from, you do want to have those recommendations. Now, when you look at that FDA recommendation, I think there's about 37 states that actually follow that recommendation for their restaurants in order to sell raw seafood. How they enforce it and doing it, that's when you want to make sure that you go to probably the best.
Okay, so if I'm just going to stay on that topic of the raw, and we've got some other good funny Kelly wants to know which wine pairs best with the $1.8 million fish.
If you have that hashtag, you just buy the bag. You see Greg Gosselin, and he'll take care of it.
Yeah. So a lot of questions are coming in. What of the KnowSeafood, what of all the fish that you sell can be eaten raw?
Good question. So let's get there. See this? That's a hunk of tuna, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is a nice hunk of tuna that I went out and I purchased today. This isn't ours because we obviously don't get it this way. Now, this tuna looks to be in really good shape. And when you have a loin that's this big, center cut, just like this, you know, you're hoping that it was under refrigeration for the whole time period. So for us, what we look at is say, okay, probably the biggest one that I'm more concerned over is not the scallop, because, you know, Paul is able to get the scallops directly from the boat. The salmon, we know, comes right out of the water within hours. We have the product blast frozen, right? Mm-hmm. It's not, it certainly isn't -31. It's like -40 Celsius. It's that blast frozen. So we know that way. And all of our seafood that you see here comes to you frozen. So it never has ever thawed, and it was frozen right away.
Okay.
So I would say that, you know, obviously the skirt, you know, these are items that I would absolutely eat raw. The sablefish is another good one to eat raw. You probably might notice something on here though. The shrimp is cooked. Right? Even when you go to any sushi restaurant, you'll always find that the shrimp is always cooked. And that's because the shrimp can tend to break down very, very fast. So you do not want to eat shrimp in a raw state.
Alicia let us know that she loves eating raw salmon.
I've
never eaten raw salmon.
You've never eaten it? Oh, honey.
No.
See this? So if you look at this, when I cut our salmon, I took that belly flap and I didn't use it and when I sliced it, but the belly flap has the most fat and it is it's the tastiest. So like if this was tuna and you take that belly flap, it's called toro. And oh my gosh, the fat content in toro is amazing.
Okay.
All right.
So we got some great comments. People are very excited, very appreciative of the business and the great quality. A few people, and I get it. So Trish, great to hear from you. Gretchen, I'm going to combine the two questions. If you're a novice at making sushi, what do you suggest for the first time if you're new to making sushi at home?
Yes. Good question. So I'm going to take this off so I don't spill it. So what you see here is a piece of tuna, and this is called saku, and it's a block. You can see it, right? We're going to have this in about 2 weeks. It's a saku block, but you could actually do this with the tuna loin yourself. And some people may take it and actually just sear it a little bit and then eat it that way, but you could actually slice this and eat this right away. So the saku block is really a good way. This came off the saku block. So you can see how this looks. It's delicious to eat that way. Here is another great way to eat sushi, right? The poke bowl. You can do this obviously with tuna, but you also can do it with salmon and you can do it with scallops. You know, and you just have the avocado in there, you've got the oils, you've got some of the different vegetables, and you toss it in there with the right type of soy sauce and everything else. This is delicious, actually healthy. I was on the phone last week with Walker. And Walker's dad, Dee, is a huge KnowSeafood fan, and Walker got a box from Dad. Thank you, Dee, if you're doing that. Keep sending that stuff out. So what he did, Walker is a runner, and he's into the whole 30. He told me that he got the poke. He's a runner, honey, like you, and he went out the next morning. He says, I really had so much energy, more than I normally, because of the high protein and the good fats that were in there, that he felt that he actually, I don't know if it's true or not, but I think I'll go with Walker on that. So this is an easy one to do.
Okay, it looks beautiful.
Really easy.
Meets my criteria, and Kelsey knows this. I love the colorful array, like just adding all the different colors. I'm amazed how many people eat raw salmon. I never knew that.
Love it. Especially the Aurora salmon. We have the highest fat content there is.
Okay, great comment from Josh. He said, this is like QVC for fish. Thank you, Josh. We appreciate that. It's great to see.
2 minutes left to get your order in. How many left, honey?
So
We only have 100 Cupid boxes left. Okay.
we'll make more.
We'll make more.
Okay, so really it was about preparation, trying to get novices to make sushi. Just a lot of great comments about really enjoying the fish in
Okay.
the process.
I had a call with my friend Dave in California today.
Dave is on.
Dave, I hope is
Say
on.
hello to Dave. Yeah.
Dave, I'm not drinking bourbon, Dave. I'm only having.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
you know that, Dave, right? So Dave is a good friend of mine, and he's involved in the seafood industry in a big way in California. And I was able to learn. Paul and I became friends with Dave a number of years ago, and we actually have learned a lot from Dave and going out and meeting with different restaurant chefs and owners working with Dave. And listening to them about what do they look for in seafood and the consistency and the quality, because it's their name on it, by the time it gets there. So we want safe seafood first and foremost, right? And I look at the scallops, I look at the salmon, I look at the tuna, and I know with KnowSeafood, I also know with Dave that, safety is first. And so knowing where, knowing when, knowing where it's coming from who, like the Maldoni tuna. The difference with the tuna that we have, it is that it's actually caught one fish at a time, one hook, one man. So it's not long line and the fish are sitting out there, for how many hours or days. The product is brought in, landed, it's cut, it's actually tested. We do test it for mercury content.
Okay.
And histamine.
You hit upon that. That was the next question in the queue. Is a few people have asked, can you talk about mercury testing and mercury? So would you be able to explain mercury levels in seafood and testing for it?
Sure. So that big fish in Tokyo, that 500-600 pound bluefin, that is such a migratory fish that it travels thousands and thousands of miles chasing bait, right? So it's eating other heavy or oilier fish like mackerel and those type of things. So the older the fish, the bigger the fish, the tendency to have a lot more mercury in it, right? Yellowfin tuna is a smaller tuna. It only weighs about 75 to 125 pounds. And from where we get it in near the Maldives, it's a fish that's not going to have a lot of mercury because it's not foraging like those giant fish are. We do, as the boats come in, we do batch testing for both mercury levels and histamine as well. Histamine is another problem. But on that mercury, what you need to look at is stay away from those fish like tilefish and some of the big the king mackerel. Swordfish, giant swordfish can be, any of the big fish, that's where the big problems. And if you're pregnant or you're nursing or that type of things, if you go to the FDA guidelines, they will tell you that yellowfin tuna is probably the best choice if you're going to eat any of that. Okay.
That's good. I'm glad you debunked that. Even the histamine stuff, people don't realize there
They don't
are
even know.
allergies
That's
to
the
histamine.
worst. That's the worst thing. It's worse than mercury as far as people reacting.
Okay, so you'd be happy to know that Dave is on drinking a bourbon. He wants you to know that.
Yeah. What kind, Dave?
He'll let us know. Okay, so let's see. So Josh wants to know a higher chance of mercury since it's been exposed for longer.
No, it's the size of the fish.
It's the size of the
you're
fish.
eating.
Yep. Okay.
So for example, on the East Coast, like we will go out fishing in October for yellowfin tuna because they follow the Gulf Stream, they chase the bait, they get off on Nova Scotia and the Bay of Fundy up there, in the Grand Banks, and they come back down. And at that point, they've been eating all summer, right? They're tastier, they're fattier. But the fish are only about 100 pounds, 125 pounds. Yellowfin that we go and harvest, and catch. So again, it's more about the big fish
Okay.
that you should be careful with.
Got it. Okay, so much great information. Other questions? Let us know, guys. I think we've covered. Alan loves your lobster tails.
Lobster tails.
Okay.
Guess what we got coming, honey, with the lobster tails? We've got some 12 to 14 ounce lobster tails coming.
Okay, good.
Are you gonna eat those?
We'll try them. I will try. Your lobster salad was good. I do not like shellfish. But I will say the lobster salad was really fabulous. Okay, so Dave wants you to know it's Buffalo Trace Bourbon.
Okay.
And traffic scale, entering the food chain
Okay.
more.
So let's just talk
There,
about.
he's having a Blanton's in your
He's
honor.
having Blanton's in
Okay,
my
yeah.
honor. Okay, so let's just talk about, when we get into sushi, our whole mission at No Seafood is to tell you give you this education, right? Ask these questions, whether you buy it from, Paula and I at No Seafood or the crew, that's okay. Our first mission is to try to tell you about seafood and enjoy it. It's really good for you. We're obviously going to eat some really good sashimi and sushi tonight, and I know where it came from. And that's our whole mission, first of all, is that, sustainable seafood you can enjoy, that you can trust. Now, hopefully, when you go to our site and you can see exactly when it was harvested, how it was harvested, but frozen is fresher when it comes to seafood, especially if we can get this at the landing and frozen with hours of it being harvested. That's what makes the difference. Blast freezing it. Now, our refrigerator over here is not the refrigerator we want to freeze in, right? So through the whole supply chain, this starts off getting frozen at -40. And even on the transportation here, it's well below zero, even when it gets to us at our facility before we send it out. And then it goes in your freezer. So proper defrosting is the big deal. We sent out an email about that this week. Try to thaw in your refrigerator. I get it. We do it the last minute. We go, what are we having for supper tonight? And fortunately, when we look at our seafood, we pack it individually, and we can take it out and we can thaw it within that container, and then we can eat it. On the poke, by the way,
Yeah.
we're going to be having salmon poke coming in about 3 weeks, and we actually put 4 4-ounce packages, so you can cut 4 ounces, make a salad instead of having to thaw. So the next batch of the tuna poke will be done the same way.
Okay,
well.
so did you read? Did you read Sue's mind? She said,
I did,
Is the tuna poke packaged in 4 servings like it was in the original box you shipped? Okay, perfect. Dave out in California wants to know, when you do the lobsters, can you show everyone how to saddle them before cooking?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So we'll do
we're
that
gonna
for
do
the
that,
next.
and I think
Okay.
we got to talk about shrimp too. I think the next. So when we do a next Facebook Live event, we'd love to hear what you want to talk about, right? And there's so many subjects that we get a lot of questions about. Shrimp happens to be a really big one. I think we're going to talk about that coming up very, very soon. We have a number of new items that will be coming in as well. And they're items that are not just down the middle of the road that kind of, maybe you might have to take an exit, but that's the beauty about, trying some different stuff. Like,
Yep.
Last week we tried some monkfish, and we had some different products that we're going to be bringing in there. Any more?
You keep it new. Donna Maria wants to know if they can pre-order that salmon poke.
No, unfortunately, we can't take pre-orders on it, but we are going to send out and tell Donna Marie, you've got my email or my phone number. Let me know. And actually, everybody that's on this tonight, everybody that's on Facebook Live tonight, we're going to copy this. We know who you are. If you haven't signed up with us, I think we have everything. Everybody that's on Facebook Live tonight, as soon as the salmon poke comes in, you're getting a free one. I'm going to put it in the box.
Okay.
Don't tell Paul, okay?
Okay. I won't tell Paul.
Don't tell
You're
Paul.
pulling an Oprah. I love it. Okay. So that's really nice, and that's good. Is there? Oh, so Joy, this point comes up a lot for my friends in New York. Is there any possibility that you can package a single serving portion? It would be easier for someone who cooks for one.
Of what?
Of whatever the fish is.
We do. Like, for example, right? So here's our sample. One portion,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So this is the salmon that you see there that I it's one portion, 6 ounces. We get it. We sell them as 2 portions in a bag, right? Where you can scan the code and you can find out exactly where your seafood comes from. But we get that. That's why we want to take the tuna poke and make it into the 4 ounce versus the 16 ounce. But we do put it into the 1 portions that you can take out. When we did the Indiegogo campaign, that was one of the biggest things that we heard from people is that can we have it just as the single portion?
Justin wants to know if he could pick it up in person because he lives in our building.
Yeah, it's Justin. You might want to come up because
Yeah.
we got a lot of sushi
Yeah.
we have to eat.
Okay, so Michelle is saying, I won't tell Paul as long as she's included. This is great. Dan, at the end, because Vito has been in our little thing, at the end, just for fun, what we should do is like dangle a little fish and watch and show how high Vito can jump.
Yeah, no, we don't want to do that.
Okay. So, we also have a Nobody box winner.
Who is it?
Can I share?
You can share.
Okay. So it is Kelly Burrich, and I know how to pronounce Kelly's last name because she gave me a lesson in it. So Kelly, the Burrich family will be getting a complimentary box from KnowSeafood. Thank you for, we always give away, a box to people who are a part of the broadcast, but really
And salmon poke.
and salmon poke for everybody tonight. But we just love our ambassadors and we love people who are just really
All right, so a couple of
engaged.
things because, I know we're getting on time and I have a big close that I want to do. Just so you know, hey, Zach, can you see this? Okay, this is what's coming. All right, well, let me turn this around a little bit so you can see what's going on. This here is really a crazy, delicious fish. And it actually comes from the Netherlands, and it's actually farm raised inland in a recirculating, bioagriculture type thing. And it's actually sushi as well. It's great for sushi. It's called Dutch yellowtail. This is monkfish. Oh, we're going to have a story on monkfish. We probably might do the next Facebook Live on monkfish. And this is squid. So calamari with a little, I like this part. Jack did not like this, but I like this. This was really good. We cooked some up the other night. Very clean. It's artisanal. That means it's day boats that go out. It's only been once frozen, which is a rule with us. So this is some of the stuff that's coming up over the next few weeks.
Okay, great. Someone asked if you're getting grouper.
Grouper, not yet, but we are going to be getting some grouper. We actually found somebody on the West Coast that's actually farm raising some grouper. And we'd love to get that fish in. So hopefully we've got a lot. We got about 7 new species that are coming on board.
Great. I love that you always have more variety.
Yeah.
Kind of like being married to you. There's always something new.
Always something going on, right?
Always. Okay, so Tim, that's the answer to your question, that we are looking into grouper. What would be the best cooking times and temperatures for optimum flavor in different seafood? And more recipes.
Okay, we do much more recipes. All right, here's my little trick when it comes to seafood when I cook it, because I do a lot of the cooking, right, honey? Because I enjoy it. I love cooking seafood.
I'm starting to get a little better, Dan. Not on the seafood, but
Not on the seafood, but she is. She's doing a really good job. I like to cook my seafood kind of fast, right? So I tend to cook at a higher temperature for a shorter period of time. And basically what happens is it's like searing the outside, but the inside is moist and delicious. So I tend to cook my seafood around 350 to 375. I preheat it, I put it in there, and I take it out quick. And it's delicious that way because I love to keep the juices and the fats within the meat. So I do not do it slow, at a low heat. I do it at a higher heat and get it done.
I know that because I live with you. But okay, so one more question about catfish.
Catfish.
Any chance you'll ever have catfish?
Do you want to hear a catfish story?
And then just be careful of time.
I
'Cause we only
know,
have,
but this is such a good
okay,
story.
make it
all right?
quick because I have 2 more
Okay.
questions.
It was during a time of war, actually, it wasn't. But it was 1986, and I was actually in the beef industry at that time. We were growing natural light beef in 1986 in Forkland, Alabama, of all places. So a northern boy goes down to Forkland, Alabama, which is below that line, and got invited to go over to see a catfish farm. Fed Spree was the guy's name. Fed Spree. I'll never forget this. Because we went and we looked at this catfish farm, right? And they've got these aerators, you know, kind of like what happens with the shrimp. They have to keep oxygen in the water in the fish farm. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty interesting. And so we're having dinner at Fed's house. Okay. Out near the pool, he has a big round, you're going to love this, honey. It has a big round cylinder, and they take like gallon containers of Crisco.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. Yeah, I told you she'd love it. Dump that thing in, right? They fire up the propane and they get that oil going. We're doing a fish fry with some catfish. Oh, my God. So we sit down to eat, and there's a big pile of this catfish. And I grab some and put it on. I start eating it. Nothing but bones.
Oh,
I'm like, what the hell? And so
you lost me at the deep frying in vegetable oil, but
so this is Fed Spree. He says, Diane, how do you like the catfish? I said, well, it's a little bony. Oh, you got the bony piece. And I said, what do you mean the bony piece? And you know what? They just cooked the whole damn fish. So when they filleted it, they took the bones, they threw that in there too. And I'm like, why would you do that? I mean, I hate bones in my fish, but it was delicious. I think it's something that we're definitely going to do because I don't see any like freshwater U.S. fish like walleye coming out of the Great Lakes. We should have that. That's a delicious fish, as well.
Jennifer is from Louisiana, and she was laughing at that story.
Oh,
she totally gets it.
Jennifer.
Yeah.
True story.
And there's just
it's
one
kind of bony.
Okay, so Deb, I want to add in Debbie's comment. She said, "Can you please come to the Midwest and explain to every menu writer that catfish and trout is not to be listed under seafood?" Disgruntled former New Hampshire girl. We're
in New Hampshire.
We're getting a lot of.
Come back. I need to know in New Hampshire.
And Jennifer said, "Use peanut oil, not Crisco." Yep, we get it. Like I'm all against
honestly,
that.
this 1986. I think that it was just one of those events.
Okay. And Jean Marie from New York, our former winner of the last box, said that we love the pepper crusted tuna. It was amazing. She loves the recipes on the site. So thank you guys for the feedback. We really love it. We always want to know what's next in the queue. So Gretchen suggested Cooking 101. Had a good
Actually, Zach. Hi, Zach. You want to say hi to everybody? There's Zach. So Zach is a tremendous talent down here in Raleigh with the videography and all. And he's actually been reaching out to some chefs, local chefs, about doing exactly that. And we're going to be speaking with them. We may actually do it here because that was the big question. How do we do this? Where do we do this? So we may be doing it here.
Okay, great. So Debbie's from Manchester, New Hampshire. Thank you from everybody, wherever you are tonight, for joining us.
So two things, honey.
Yeah, sorry. I'm the closer.
The D&D Delight. All right, so what was the name? What was the day? Do you remember the day? What's the date of our wedding?
September 14th.
September?
I remember the
What year?
2008.
Okay. Zach,
How would I not remember that?
She better remember. Two things happened on that day that were significant, right?
I do remember, yes. The collapse of Wall Street.
Lehman went down on our wedding day. So, that global crisis, we started it. We partied as that was going on. All right. So listen, we had a great time tonight. We love doing this and getting the feedback, honey. So Vito, what did you think? Do you see Vito down here? I don't know if you could. Vito, come here. Come here.
Can we get Vito in there?
Come on up. There he is.
Oh, wait,
no,
give him some food. Give him some food and he'll jump up.
The seafood. So thank you for joining us tonight. We really enjoy doing this and getting the feedback. I think one of the things that Paul and I really love about this is you joining our Facebook page, joining our Facebook group, and feeding into us. But more importantly, feed into each other, right? We're doing this for you, and we truly are. And we see it every day when we see the repeat orders come in. We're stunned by how much seafood you guys are eating, and we're glad you're doing it. And we do listen to you. So until we do this again on March 4th, okay, because the same days in February are the same days in March.
Okay.
Do you know that because of the
So it's a Thursday night?
4th, isn't it? So we'll do that.
Great.
So till next time, we'll make this.
Yes.
Okay.
Happy
All right.
Valentine's Day,
Happy
everybody.
Valentine's Day, and
Thanks
thank
for
you,
joining
everybody.
us.